Let's explore the treacherous era of the Wild West, where shrewd and merciless outlaws roamed the untamed lands. Among these notorious figures stands Ike Clanton, a cunning and opportunistic individual who stops at nothing to achieve his goals. In this captivating video, we'll delve into the life of Ike Clanton, unraveling the reasons why he's widely regarded as the Wild West's most famous, most infamous, and craven outlaw. From his humble beginnings as a rancher to his infamous involvement in the legendary gunfight at OK Corral, we will closely examine the tumultuous events and controversies that shaped his existence. Brace yourself for an immersive journey as we uncover the untold tale of Ike Clanton, the Wild West's most reviled and spineless desperado. Joseph Isaac Clanton, popularly known as Ike Clanton, entered this world in 1847, born to Newman, Haynes Clanton, and Mariah Sexton Clanton in Callaway County, Missouri. Newman was initially a laborer and gold miner, later became a cattle rancher in the vast Arizona territory. Ike was one of the 7 children blessed to this couple, but their happiness was marred by the tragic loss of Ike's mother in 1866. Seeking new beginnings, the Clanton family relocated to Tombstone in the Arizona territory around 1877. At that time, Newman resided with his sons Finn, Ike, and Billy. In 1878, with the unwavering support of his family, Ike embarked on a venture, opening a modest lunch stand at the Tombstone mill site. However, the allure of the food industry eventually waned, leading him to shift gears and contribute to his father's farming enterprise in Lewis Springs, situated approximately 19 kilometers west of Tombstone and 8.0 kilometers from Charleston. The Clanton family, known as the Cowboys, gained notoriety for their reckless behavior, including cattle rustling, robbery, and murder, often crossing the US-Mexico border. Their actions led to frequent clashes with both citizens and law enforcement. Ike Clanton became primarily recognized for his numerous conflicts with Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. The Earps and the Clantons harbored significant ideological, personal, and legal differences, fueling animosity throughout 1881. For instance, during the November 1880 election, the Cowboys supported Sheriff Charles Shibble, while the Earps backed his opponent. Bob Paul Clanton's tendency to boast, drink excessively, and display a short temper further added to his notoriety. One particular incident that escalated tensions between the two factions was the theft of one of Wyatt Earp's horses in November 1879. 18-year-old Billy Clanton insolently taunted Earp about losing more horses, indicating that he knew the true owner because Earp hadn't provided a title for it. This incident, along with Clanton's fiery temperament, further intensified animosity between the factions. During the scorching summer of 1881, a heated argument erupted between Ike Clanton and the renowned gambler Danny McCann. As they sat in a pub on Allen Street, Clanton, in a fit of insult, provoked McCann, who responded by slapping him across the face. Enraged, Clanton stormed out of the establishment, promptly retrieving his pistol. McCann did the same, and they confronted each other on the street in front of the Wells Fargo's office. Poised to draw their weapons, however, before they could open fire, Tombstone Marshal Virgil Earp intervened, effectively preventing a deadly clash. But Clanton's troubles were far from over. In the early hours of June 6, 1881, Ike's father, Old Man Clanton, and 6 other men embarked on a mission to herd stolen cattle through Guadalupe Canyon near the Mexican border. These cattle were acquired from the notorious outlaw William Brocious, also known as Curly Bill. At dawn, they were ambushed by Mexican forces under the command of Commander Felipe Neri. This infamous incident became known as the Guadalupe Canyon Massacre, resulting in the deaths of Old Man Clanton and 5 other men. As Ike Clanton survived the harrowing Guadalupe Canyon Massacre, speculation arose that he had abandoned his fellow fighters. This perception of him as a cowardly outlaw began to haunt him, tarnishing his reputation further. Clanton's notable traits encompassed his swagger and affinity for whiskey. He made a bold claim that Doc Holliday, Virgil Earp, Wyatt Earp, and Morgan Earp had all confessed to their involvement in the Benson stage robbery. On October 25, 1881, a heavily intoxicated and boisterous Clanton was in Tombstone when Holliday confronted him, accusing him of lying about the robbery. Virgil Earp intervened to defuse the escalating situation, but Clanton continued to stir up trouble. Following that incident, Clanton once again became intoxicated and armed himself with more guns and roamed around causing disturbances. The Earp brothers, catching Clanton off guard on the street, disarmed him and brought him to the judge, Wallace, for violating the city's gun laws. Clanton vehemently denied threatening the Earps and refused to surrender his rifle. However, he was ultimately fined $25 in court fees. Virgil Earp pledged to take custody of the confiscated weapons, which were held at the Grand Hotel. Nevertheless, Clanton later testified that he managed to obtain his firearm back from the warden a few days later. The Earps remained vigilant in their watch over the cowboys, considering them a significant threat to law and order in Tombstone. Clanton's frequent outbursts and defiant behavior only served to intensify the growing tensions between the cowboys and the Earps. Finally, in the late afternoon of October 26, 1881, these tensions erupted into the infamous gunfight at the OK Corral. Prior to the gunfight, animosity had been escalating between the two factions. Virgil Earp had discovered that Wyatt was engaging in conversations with the cowboys at Spangenberg's gun shop. In response, Virgil armed himself with a double-barreled handgun from Wells Fargo's office, concealing it under his coat to avoid causing alarm. Upon returning to Hafford's saloon, Virgil handed a shotgun to Doc Holliday. Along the way, several concerned citizens informed Virgil that the McClarys and Clantons had gathered on Fremont Street, armed and ready. Despite offers of assistance from the Citizen Vigilance Committee, Virgil declined as he had previously represented Morgan and Wyatt, and was currently representing Doc Holliday. During the gunfight, Wyatt referred to his brothers, Virgil and Morgan, as marshals, while he acted as a deputy general. Witnesses testified that Ike Clanton had spent the day threatening to shoot the Earps, even after being arrested and disarmed. Once the shooting commenced, Clanton attempted to take advantage of Wyatt, assuming he was unarmed and unwilling to fight. In response, Wyatt uttered the famous quote, "Fight or flight." Clanton, displaying his cowardice, quickly fled from the scene and managed to escape unharmed. In the days leading up to the gunfight, Clanton had enlisted the assistance of Billy Claiborne, a skilled gunman among the cowboys. However, Claiborne cowardly abandoned the Clanton brothers during the confrontation. Ultimately, Tom Frank McClary and Bill Clanton were killed. While interpretations of the events vary, one thing remains evident: the gunfight at the OK Corral will forever stand as an iconic event in American history. Following the notorious Tombstone gunfight, Ike Clanton pressed charges against the Earps and Doc Holliday for murder, resulting in their arrest. However, they were later released on bail. During a preliminary hearing presided over by Judge Wells Spicer, Clanton testified that he had been mistreated by the Earps and Holliday on the night prior to the fight. He denied threatening the Earps and instead claimed that he and the Clantons, along with Frank McClary, complied with Virgil's orders to raise their hands. Tom even demonstrated his unarmed status by opening his vest. Clanton recounted that Wyatt pointed a pistol at his stomach, bellowing, "Bastard, you can fight." In April 1887, Ike Clanton was arrested and jailed for theft. Over the ensuing months of May and June, several grand jury indictments were issued against the Clanton gang and their associates, including charges of cattle theft and the murder of Isaac Ellinger. Tasked with pursuing Clanton, Brighton, a lawyer, embarked on a 3-day chase. On May 31, 1887, Brighton caught up with Clanton and spent the night at Jim Pegleg Wilson's ranch on Eagle Creek, south of Springville. During the confrontation, Brighton shot Clanton from the left, with the bullet exiting from the right and killing him instantly. This incident marked the end of the Clantons' reign of terror in Arizona. Historical records indicate that the killing of Ike Clanton was deemed a justifiable homicide by law enforcement and widely celebrated by the local community. According to a source, Ike Clanton's body was left in place for several days before being buried in an unmarked grave by Mormon ranchers in Eagar, Arizona, which is now known as the 26 Bar Farm. In 1996, Terry Ike Clanton, a descendant of the Clanton family, and James Browning, a former Citadel professor and grave expert, searched for Ike Clanton's remains near Eagle Creek in Greenlee County, Arizona. They discovered a shallow grave under a large tree that they believed could contain Ike's remains. However, their attempts to convince Tombstone city officials to exhume their remains and rebury them at Tombstone's Boot Hill Cemetery was unsuccessful. Despite his reputation as a troublemaker and a gunfighter, Clanton displayed a lack of courage in facing the consequences of his actions. From fleeing the Tombstone gunfight to his eventual death at the hands of law enforcement, Clanton serves as a reminder that true character is measured not just by how one faces enemies, but also how they confront their own fears. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and check out our channel for more interesting videos. Have a good day.